What's going on, people? Welcome back to another video. My name is hughwizzy and you're watching 90 More, back again with breaking news for their ass. Hope you're all doing well. Make sure you are subscribed if you're new and drop the video a damn like if you breathe oxygen. But for now, let's get down to business because there is a lot that I want to get through today. And we kick things off today with Mkhitaryan, who's been causing an online Twitter spat with Owen and Shearer, the two former Newcastle United strikers going head to head and straight for the jugular. Owen Shearer quoting this BT Sport interview that Mkhitaryan gave.
So all I did at the end of my career for 6-7 years, I hated it. I couldn't wait to retire for most of my,
So he's saying that he hated the end or the last 6-7 years of his career. And whilst he was playing for Newcastle United and on 120 grand a week, having just moved from Real Madrid, the real tension between the two of them may well have more to it that's in the book. But it seems to boil down to an injury scare that Mkhitaryan was going through whilst Newcastle were in the middle of a relegation battle. Shearer's actually insinuating that Owen was ready to play, but was more interested in securing himself a new contract at a different club because his contract at Newcastle was about to end than he was actually helping Newcastle and Shearer to save them from the drop. So let's delve a little deeper here. Why are people so angry at Mkhitaryan, a player who won the Ballon d'Or in a time of Luis Figo, Zidane, the real Ronaldo, Thierry Henry, Shevchenko? He was a phenomenon. How has this gone so wrong? What he's actually done is come out and said that his time at Newcastle is one of his biggest regrets. And whilst he was at Real Madrid, he'd given an interview where he said that he'd be open to coming back to the Premier League, but he says he only really wanted to go back to Liverpool. Now, Newcastle came in with a £16 million bid. He didn't want to stay because he wasn't getting any game time, but he didn't really want to go back to Newcastle. He was signed by Graham Souness for around 15 to 17 million pounds, but obviously wanting to go to Liverpool, Souness actually didn't think the deal was going to happen, and he was so irritated, having been chasing Mkhitaryan for about 2 years, that he was very close to actually signing Nicolas Anelka from Fenerbahce. That season, I don't know if you remember, but Shearer was quite close to the edge. He was quite close to the end. He shouldn't have really stayed for the last season. And that is what stopped Souness signing Nicolas Anelka from Fenerbahce and Mkhitaryan, instead relying on Shearer and Owen. And when Owen got injured, I think that was the end of Graham Souness. So Owen Shearer is here defending himself whilst also kind of twisting the knife. And Mkhitaryan is going straight back in. Not sure you're as loyal to Newcastle as you make out, mate. I distinctly remember you being inches away from signing for Liverpool after Sir Bobby Robson put you on the bench. You tried everything to get out. Sensational stuff here as we find out that Owen Shearer perhaps isn't as loyal as we all thought. It is a shame to see two of England's best ever strikers going tit for tat on the internet. And it's a strange world we live in these days. But you know, I've got mixed feelings about it because I do feel a little bit like Mkhitaryan retired after the Ballon d'Or. Is there a bit of jealousy there? Does Shearer regret the fact that he didn't leave to go on and win more trophies? You've got that Premier League title obviously with Blackburn, but not a lot else really to show for it. 3 back-to-back golden boots, I guess. Whereas Mkhitaryan has got the full set of English medals, plus 2 European medals and a Ballon d'Or, and actually scored more goals for England. So is there a little bit of jealousy there? Or it's definitely a rivalry. It's a healthy rivalry there between the two of them, isn't there? Who for you was the best? Because at their prime, I actually have to give it to Mkhitaryan. He was totally unplayable at 17, breaking into the Liverpool side, at 19, dominating on the international stage and being England's go-to guy as a teenager. He played a lot of games as a youngster, and people forget how much of a phenomenon he was. The thing is, Owen Shearer, pictured here next to fellow bald fraud Danny Mills, may well be one of the country's greatest ever strikers, but he is no saint. You've only got to look up Owen Shearer, Neil Lennon on the internet. Go back to 1998 against Everton when he smashed a guy in the face with his foot and could have taken all his teeth out and disfigured him for life. And gave him a little pat on the back and then bribed the FA, saying that if they were going to charge him with misconduct, that he would never play for England again. So I'm not having that he's a loyal, sweet angel, because that's a load of bollocks. One thing I've taken from this is that Mkhitaryan really was all about the money. He used the club And whilst I can understand it being, kind of devastating to hear fans singing "What a waste of money," the way that you counteract that or fight against that is to go out and prove that you are worth the money, not to hide, not play because you're scared of not being able to secure your next contract. And I guess it's just kind of disappointing to see a player who I thought he was like our Mbappe. Next up, we've got England, who have signed a 2-year, £10 million deal with delivery food merchant Deliveroo. It's England's first ever shirt sponsor, and it's fucking ironic because on the international stage, we never deliver. European window shut last night, and one of the biggest deals of the day was Keylor Navas completing his move to PSG. It was announced that the 32-year-old international goalkeeper, Costa Rican, is moving to the French Ligue 1 champions, with Alfonso Areola moving in the opposite direction on loan, even though he is signed to a 4-year contract. I think it ends in 2023. So they do have hopes that the French substitute World Cup winner goalkeeper is going to go back and do the business. But for now, it's Keylor Navas who will be lining out for PSG and competing with Sergio Rico, who they signed on loan from Sevilla. In other transfer news, former Arsenal striker and Danish international Nicholas Bentner has moved to his home city club, FC Copenhagen, until the end of the year. Massive opportunity for him. He's got 4 months to prove that he can still do it. He has been at Norwegian club Rosenborg, where he scored 35 goals in 86 games and won 2 league titles. It's been an interesting year for one of football's real characters. He spent 50 days on electronic tag under house arrest after being convicted of assaulting a taxi driver. Let's hope that he can get back to the business of just scoring goals and pleasing the home fans. On to Arsenal news now, and Henrik Mkhitaryan, after putting in one of the worst performances we've seen in the North London derby, and just wondering why he was even being included, has actually moved in a season-long loan to Rome to join up with Chris Smalling and Kalinic. 59 appearances for Arsenal and just 9 goals. I've got to say, he's one of the most disappointing signings we've ever made. I really had such high hopes for this guy because at one stage he was one of the most creative players in the business, and the potential partnership with Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang that they could have potentially reignited from their time at Dortmund just never materialised. Obviously, this all started with the swap deal for Alexis Sanchez, and 18 months later, both players leaving their clubs to go on loan moves to Serie A. I think it says a lot about where they stand in their careers right now. He hasn't started a game since the opening day, but he is one of 3 quite experienced players let go by the club in the last week then, with Nacho Monreal going to Real Sociedad and Mohamed El Neni going to Besiktas. I guess the most promising news for Arsenal fans is that there is an option to buy, and that option to buy for Roma becomes an obligation should he play 25 games. Let's hope that he piles on those appearances. How can you not love that? Awesome. I mean, look at that. It's unbelievable, isn't it, really? Beautiful scenes. And Galatasaray Twitter is very entertaining, I should tell you. In the run-up to the announcement, they trolled fans by saying totally irrelevant information on a totally random night. We're called the Lions, but hey, we also do love Tigers. It's been quite the window for Galatasaray. There's some Mario Lemina, the former Juventus midfielder, and, well, Southampton and Juventus midfielder, and Emre Moore on loan. I think both of those with options to buy. And they also brought in Brighton's Florin Andone. Everton's Yannick Bolasie has actually gone on loan to Sporting Lisbon, which is a great move for him. I really hope that he can kick on there because he has been blighted by injury. Both clubs giving him the opportunity to prove himself again. I wish him the best of luck. Romelu Lukaku coming out and saying that he suffered racial abuse and he hopes that the relevant football federations all over the world react strongly on all cases of discrimination. Also calling out social media platforms who need to do more. And Jadon Sancho has actually been saying that incidents of racism that he's encountered have made him question why he plays football, and he fears that they'll make players lose their love of the sport. Lots of big transfer news from Serie A, including Mauro Icardi, 26-year-old Argentine striker, moving to PSG on a season-long loan. €5 million PSG are paying for this guy, who's scored 124 goals in 219 appearances for Inter Milan, but had barely played last season, and the situation had become untenable. Obviously, it's a complicated one with this guy, and whilst he comes with undoubted quality, I'm not sure many people will be that sad to see the back of him. He is, however, doubling his wages and going to an extremely talented side who have as much chance of winning, probably a lot more chance actually, of winning any silverware this season, especially the Champions League. Probably as well known for his relationship with Maxi Lopez as he is for his goal scoring. Here he is meeting his childhood hero. Here he is on Maxi's boat with his missus, as they are teammates and friends. Here he is where they're clearly arch enemies, because he does end up getting married to his wife, who is now his agent. And here he is getting Maxi's kids' names tattooed on his arm. It's all quite complicated and doesn't seem to be coming to an end anytime soon, as Maxi was actually on Instagram posting Mauro's new teammate Neymar, showing how close they are. His wife is his agent, and she's famous in Italy for being very active on social media, replying to players and speaking up for her husband, who she has secured or helped to secure this move to PSG. One thing's for sure, he's bound to score a lot of goals, and their side is absolutely dripping with talent. Cavani is probably going to be second place now, as he's not as agile and mobile as he once was. And with Neymar staying and Mbappe on the other side, a new midfield with Idrissa Gueye and possibly Ander Herrera involved in, with Verratti, Draxler, Di Maria. It's just about time they won the Champions League, really, isn't it? That's about all for this time. Make sure you are subscribed if you're new, and drop the video a damn like if you breathe oxygen. And you can follow me on all the relevant social media if you want to get in touch, or if you've got news stories that you want me to cover, any topics about the beautiful game especially. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying the consistent content. I'm going to love you and leave you for now. My name's been Hugh Wizzy, and this has been a lot of fun. Peace.